Welcome everyone to Tai Chi to the People. And today we're going to talk about half breaths, half breathing, and how to strategically utilize half breaths. I use it all the time in push hands. It's a really important component of my strategy, my movement. I use it in any grappling or really any sparring. And it's something that folks haven't really talked about with me. And I've had to, through trial and error, through talking to different experts in their Tai Chi work, in their fighting work, when I used to fight Sancho and boxing, etc. Just how people breathe is so important, and figuring out how to connect your intention to your breath work and visualization, obviously super important. So today we're going to talk about half breaths. And to give you an example of what a half breath is, what I mean by that, I'm going to use this movement from Tai Chi, the Wu style of Tai Chi. And so here we go. I'm in the bedroom because my mom is in town for my son's birthday. So it's a different location. So check this out. So I'm going to exhale here, inhaling up, exhaling down. So why is that a half breath? So traditionally in I've started the sequence of what's called the four corners in Wu style Tai Chi push hands, Tai Chi. It's in every style of Tai Chi or most styles. But here, normally you exhale and maybe even exhale even deeper, hands sliding out. And you can't really see my feet, but that's not really the point right now. So I'm exhaling even deeper. So that's one breath with two stages of exhalation. Stage one, stage two, even deeper. A reverse breathing version of that is exhaling down one, inhaling up. And with the inhalation, allowing the body, the fingers are pulled forward, the breath visualization is coming through the fingers into the belly. It's as if I'm sucking the color of the breath in through my fingers. And my hip is extending through, the fingers are pulling and the hip is even pulling forward. Notice that my hip moves here. If there was an exhalation, the hip would be pulled through the push, or just the hip would push forward. Exhalation, push, inhalation, pull. So there's two completely different, but it's very subtle body mechanics. And so now let's talk about the half breath on that. So I'm going to, let's say, exhale down, inhale up, and halfway through the movement, I exhale. So notice that I lifted and dropped, lifted and dropped. The half breaths, if you are thinking about your breath work as if you are conducting a symphony and you're moving your hand, you're going up and you're going down, the breath work, similar to this movement, the breath work should manifest in the body similar to this movement. So, and it does naturally. Inhale up, the chest goes up, exhale down. Even if you are sophisticated enough to breathe like a baby, to continue to do the base diaphragm breathing where the lower dantian expands and contracts with the exhalation. Some people they exhale and expand, and they inhale and they contract. Some people train themselves to do that as well. And so with that nuance, that's a connected but slightly different conversation than what we're going to have right now. So the one we're going to have right now is how I personally play push hands, grappling in general, and how this breath work works in those situations. So if I'm playing with a partner and we've gotten into this maybe a 50-50 clinch. So we're in a 50-50 clinch. I'll inhale up a little bit, exhale, drop my body down. Inhale up, exhale, do my arm drag technique. Notice I inhale with the arm drag to come up, exhale, drop it down. Maybe I'll exhale, push the arm drag through, and then inhale, pull them across. What I'm getting at here is that these moments, I might not be taking full breaths. I'm taking smaller breaths, and I'm using each moment of that breath, inhalation and exhalation, with very clear intent. So you can bring this into your forms. I was doing this with my form yesterday, and it's really wonderful because I've been working on bridging the gap between how I play push hands, how I grapple. And this is more of a lifelong work for me, a path of bridging that gap of like, how do I keep this? How do I bring this dynamism into my form, which is already dynamic? The forms are all so beautiful. Your form, I don't know what form everyone who watches this does, but I'm sure it's beautiful, and I'm sure there's a lot of dynamism there. So how do we consistently push the envelope with these forms and bring more realism to it while maintaining a level of the same level of equilibrium in terms of how we're meeting reality, so that you're not bringing unnecessary tension into your body, because when you're doing push hands, etc., or grappling, you're going to get unexpected pressure. That unexpected pressure, if it's surprising, it may cause unnecessary tension in your body, and that's normally when you lock up. That's normally when you get pushed over. So today we're going to do a few exercises. We're going to take different common movements, whether that's punching just in general, striking, or a kick, or a push hands move. We'll do an arm drag, etc. And we're going to bring half breathing into these movements. So before we continue with that, let's do some uplifting heaven. Inhaling up, exhaling down, inhaling up, exhaling down. I'll shift the camera for better lighting in a moment. Inhaling up, even deeper, even deeper, even deeper. Big breath. Exhale down. Pushing the color visualization. Remember, keep the mouth closed, tongue on the ceiling of the mouth. All the color, all the breath should be visualized with your eyes open as a color in the belly. Whatever color intuitively comes to you. And exhale, wash that color out, down the limbs. Inhaling deep, even deeper, drawing the color in. Even deeper, even deeper. Exhale, washing that out. And let's do a nice half horse stance. This is knee, feet shoulder width apart, shoulder width and a half apart, knees bent, tailbone drops straight down, imaginary straight. Keeps your head lifted up to the heavens. Hollow fists right on the wrists. Exhale, pelvis rotating in the femur. Inhale, breath pulls you up, over eyes in the belly button. Exhaling down. One. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. And reverse it, inhaling up. Exhaling down, one more. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale, wash the color out. Inhale deep. Exhale, soften the back. So let's talk for a moment about Sam and I were just talking. We have Sam here. He's training from the Philippines. We were just talking before we started recording about pong, about using the elbow to pong. And I often say on my channel that I do my best to remove some of the, I do my best not to reference too much of the original Chinese terminology to describe what we're doing, because my intention is to build a very bridge in English between these concepts that might be harder to grasp in English, and actually find the right words that connect to the intention behind these terminologies. So pong, essentially sticking and redirecting. So here we talk about, I'm using a chair as an example of an opponent's arm, maybe an opponent's elbow, their extended arm or elbow, etc. And I'm moving the elbow out of the way, but I'm sticking to it, and then I'm putting pressure on. So as an example there, how can this work with half breathing? So half breathing, if you're breathing more rapidly, the movements you're doing are likely going to shift in terms of speed. You're probably going to be moving, if not faster, then you're likely going to be moving shorter distances more rapidly makes you seem faster. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually physically pushing yourself to move faster. What you're doing is you're cutting out the gaps. We've talked about this in the past, where you shorten the time between decisions, and that makes you seem faster. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're exerting more energy. You're just making decisions with less lag between them. So in our form, in the Wu Sao form, for example, you may do this long pressure redirect here, and then exhale, come forward. So if we were going to do the same thing, this might be better lighting for you guys actually over here. Look at that, better lighting. I'm a filmmaker too. So this pressure redirect, I'm just switching my arm now. I'm using the other side. Now here's the half breathing. Exhale, exhale even deeper. So I did half breath on one, half breath again. Now if I want to do an inhalation, half breath, inhale, reach. So I've shortened the time between the movement. Exhale, inhale. Here it is again. Now it seems rapid fire. Exhale, inhale. Again, exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. Every time I'm moving in push hands, for the most part, in grappling, I'm connecting my breath work to my movement. And that coordination is incredibly intentional. What I mean by that is that if I'm dropping down, I'm intentionally dropping my left shoulder down through my right, the crease in my right hip, so that it goes down to the ball of my right foot. Boom. I'm intentionally doing that. This is one exhalation and then an inhalation. So if I touch somebody and I do this, that was an exhale, inhale. Those are half breaths, maybe even less than half. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. And so just now I moved a little bit faster, but as you can see, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So all these things are happening seemingly fast, but I'm just doing only enough, only what I really need to get to my goal. So in our forms, we have these big movements sometimes. And these big movements are so beautiful and they help us in so many different ways, but the practicality of them has to be adapted to the moment. And in a moment, you may not need this big motion. You may just need this. And it's the same body mechanic, the same start. It's just smaller circles. I'm still doing the same mechanic here, but this is more overt. So somebody who knows Tai Chi with less precision might think that, oh, this move has to be done like this because they're only paying attention to the big movements and the overt, very obvious posture. You want to make sure your Tai Chi can happen here. The same exact concept. And notice that my hip is coming up just slightly. I may only need that to move an opponent in grappling to make them step past my shoulder. If I make them step past my shoulder with this slight movement, I exhale, inhale, half breaths, exhale, inhale, maybe even quarter breaths, whatever you need, but it's not a full breath. And you get that opponent to step, then you put an arm behind them, you step behind them, and then you can get your throw. So what you want to do is you want to catalyze or inspire the opponent to take the motion in the direction that you want them to go. And so that's why these half breaths are so important. These half breaths can be adapted to any movement. If you're doing your Tai Chi form, and let's go to the reverse breathing Grandmaster William C.C. Chen Yang style. Here's his punch. His punch, the full expression is here. Grandmaster Chen, the inflation of the tricep. The pouring, I love how he describes punching as if you're pouring a cup of tea, that the same mechanic that comes into pouring a cup of tea comes into your punch. I love that. I think it's a great description, and it makes the body mechanic very relatable, that a beautiful pouring of tea is similar to a beautiful punch, and you can still, you can find your Tai Chi postures in your daily movement. It's very, very powerful, especially for people who might be having more challenges doing basic daily movements, as some of our students do in Tai Chi. A lot of older folks come into Tai Chi because it is the number one way for somebody over like 77 years old to regain their balance. That there's a bunch of data on that. So, but you don't want to wait until you're much older to take advantage of these wonderful, wonderful techniques, etc. So let's talk a little bit more about half breathing. So inhaling out for the knee. Let's talk about this. Let's actually do a little bit. And so sometimes you might exhale on a knee. If you're a Thai fighter, especially if you do Muay Thai or Muay Boran, you might push the knee forward and come back. So you might push and come back. Again, knee coming up, exhale, inhale. I'm going to move this a little bit farther back. Actually, here's me in the mirror so you can see this. So here's the technique. Boom. I'm pushing the hip forward. You'll probably go on the ball of your foot and then come all the way back then. So that's a normal Thai knee. Exhaling, inhale. Exhaling, inhale. And you're flexing the abs, you're pulling in with this butterfly grip, likely on the top back of the opponent's head, back here. We've talked about that in the past too. So exhale, inhale. But how are you going to do this with half breaths? I do this many times with half breathing. So I might inhale up and then exhale forward and come down. Inhale up, exhale forward, and then release the rest of my breath. Or exhale, inhale, exhale down. So exhale, inhale, exhale down. Again, I'm connecting the breath to the moment that I'm connecting my breath based on what I'm experiencing in a martial setting. So I'm playing with an opponent who might be surprising me. And therefore you want to train, I highly recommend training in multiple ways, meaning that if you do exhaling on your punch, try inhaling on the punch and try feeling what the body is doing during that inhalation so that you can react and you're comfortable already with reacting in a way that might be uncommon in a particular scenario. And so that makes you better at having multiple ways to get to the same destination, the same goal. So I might inhale on this punch, I might exhale on that punch. I might inhale up, exhale on that one. So I might just inhale up, exhale, drop my punch across. Boom, exhale, punch it across. And this is another example of the half breaths in action. You might inhale up for whatever reason. It might be you reaching over an opponent's arm and then exhaling, punching down. You might inhale up and exhale, drop an elbow down. Or you might be faking. You might be faking a punch. You may want someone to go high and then you punch them after they've lifted their arm, or when they drop their arm back down because you fake. So they may go up high to block, come back down, and then you hit them. So whatever the application, inhaling up, exhaling, dropping the punch across. Again, inhale up, exhale, drop it across. This is really more of a concept and an approach rather than me showing any particular technique, because it actually works for all techniques. Literally, I can't think of one technique where it does not work. So let's see it with a throw. And let's think about a simple throw for Tai Chi push hands. So a simple throw for Tai Chi push hands is going to be the step behind. Let me lower the camera a little bit and put it a little bit back. All right, let's do the floor. So the half crescent, the crescent moon step. So oftentimes you see this, and it's in many different styles of martial arts. You might be here, step around and shift the weight. So if you have an opponent here, like this, if you have an opponent here, I would step around and notice that I have this wonderful position here. So this is the front of my opponent's body, which my arm is in front of, and my leg is behind my opponent. So I've stepped and I have my weight shifted here, and notice that my hip is making contact, my chest might be making contact, my shoulder might be making contact. All of this is connected to the lower dantian, my breath work, my center, and I know that, boom, I'm putting my pressure this way to move the opponent. So I've stepped behind them, and sometimes I could take them over this leg, but sometimes I may need to bring them back and spin them around. So I open this back leg and I spin that opponent around. Notice how I straighten this other leg as I shift the weight. Shift the weight, and they go right over the leg. So I didn't realize this was going to be a training partner today. So let's talk about that with the breath work. Oftentimes, I might inhale and then exhale into my opponent. And I'm exhaling into my opponent to make sure that I fully transfer my weight forward 70%. The reason I want to do that is because I want to take pressure off of this leg so I can open it if I need to. Because I need to open so that I can shift back into it and have the most range of motion to pick this opponent up and over the leg so that I can flip them onto the ground. Basic hip toss, essentially. So now let's talk about it with the breath work. So even deeper, exhaling down, opening up, inhaling as I open, and then exhaling again. So that's a 1, 2, 3. Exhale, inhale, exhale. So now how do I do the same thing with this half breath work? So what I might do here is, and I love this, especially when it comes to even action choreography in films, a lot of the stuff that I'm working on with, this is Tai Chi to People presented by Justice for Hire, which is our series, justiceforhire.app. You can join the cast, become a superhero, a martial arts superhero. But a lot of the stuff that I like to choreograph these days has a lot to do with sloppier looking choreography, because the sloppier stuff is actually where a lot of the meat, from my perspective, at this point in my martial development. So sloppy, meaning that it doesn't look like super clean. Oh, this guy just went into the chamber and did this amazing side kick and backhand. I love seeing that kind of stuff, don't get me wrong. I'm interested in seeing someone step here and do a throw right here. And these smaller steps are reflected into the smaller breath work. So I might be playing with an opponent here, very tall. I will often play very tall. Sometimes you'll see me doing push hands with this stance, like super small. And I still have the same mechanics going on. That means 70% of my weight is forward. It doesn't look like 70% of my weight is forward, but 70% of my weight is right here. I'm relaxing into this groin. Here's me straight. Here's me relaxed into my front groin. Here's me shifting my weight to the other side. 70% on this leg now. 70% on this leg. So I'm playing around on my partner. I might be in front of him. Exhale, inhale, exhale. So really small exhalations, inhalations, to go for the same moment, same moves. So inhale, exhale, inhale, coming across. And now how do we take this concept? Notice that I just bled it into shortening your movements, which is a separate concept than the half breaths that we started with. So you can still take this, bring this into a throw, but now how do we take a single technique and do a half breath, half inhalation, half exhalation within that single technique? Because this movement, this throw is actually multiple techniques. This is a technique, this is a technique, this is a technique. So those are actually 3 different techniques that come together to seem like they're one move, but they're actually 3 different moves completely that chain together. So if you are, the best example that I can give for a throw in terms of the half breath here, aside from the rhythm that I just showed of the smaller stances, is going to be on the lift. You may inhale and bring somebody up, and then exhale, drop them over. So that load, that inhalation, inhale up, exhale down, that might be your half breath. So some people might exhale big and toss them over. It's going to be just fine. It's just just unblown. So, but others might do an inhalation, inhale up and drop them over. So if you're going to do an inhale up and exhale down, or exhale up, inhale down, that is an example of using the half breaths. Oftentimes, these half breaths, like I said, to shorten time. And that's how those 2 concepts came together just now, in terms of I might do the smaller stance work to throw an opponent, because I'm shortening my breaths, which makes this move faster. But there are, as we were talking about in the beginning, techniques where you're going to do an exhaling, inhale up, exhale, and then inhale up, exhale. So I'm still doing the same punch, inhale up, exhale, dropping down, or maybe inhale up, exhale. It's really more so, I think, about continuing a similar trajectory rather than, let's say, doing inhale up, exhale down. Like those are the trajectory going up, the trajectory going down I wouldn't consider those half breaths, but you can short inhale up, exhale down. And I'm doing a clinch right now. So this is a Muay Thai clinch. I'm putting this Muay Thai clinch behind my opponent's behind their head, right around here. And I'm going up and I'm bringing them into my chest, maybe even lifting my head up so that I can smother them in my chest and cause them to want to pull back. And as they pull back, I might push them or I might turn them, etc. So rather than thinking about this half breath work as something that is think about it as continuing the trajectory with the same breath, the same trajectory of your movement with changing the breath. So simplest concept, straight line. So how am I going to inhale, exhale? So again, bring this to any move because it's not really about any one technique. It's really more about the concept and grasping the concept. And I'm only sharing this because this is something that has never really been articulated to me. And it's not something that I've ever really talked about on a video, even though I've done it for many years in push hands. So the simplest way to think about it is how are you bringing your motion, choosing a direction, and then continuing that direction with two breaths that are rather than one. So instead of exhaling, pushing the hand out, inhale, exhale, or exhale, inhale, and making sure the next, I guess we're defining it right now, which is great. We're defining this half breath technique as continuing the trajectory of any particular move, changing the breath in the midst of that trajectory, and finally, allowing the natural body mechanic of whatever breath you're choosing, whether it's inhalation or exhalation, to augment that technique. So choose the, go off on your trajectory, changing the breath mid-trajectory, and allowing the body mechanic of that change to augment the end goal. So augmentation, what do I mean by that? So I'm inhaling here, and I exhale at the end, but the exhalation has my lungs dropping. My lungs are getting smaller. Everything is dropping down because I'm releasing the breath. I'm deflating. That deflating is causing me to drop downward, and I'm agreeing with gravity. This is a very Kenpo, Chinese Kenpo karate has a similar concept of moving with gravity. So I'm agreeing with gravity and letting that downward motion come into my fist, boom, and I'm punching through. If I do the opposite breathing, meaning that I exhale here and I inhale at the end, I'm agreeing with the expansion of my lungs. Everything is lifting up, and I'm allowing this fist to have a more upward. It's still the same trajectory. It's still straight, and even if I was going straight, I'm allowing more of an upward energy to manifest in the impact point. So again, adapt this to any technique that you want. And we were talking about like the hip toss. And the hip toss, the trajectory is a curve. So that means that halfway through the curve, I'm changing my breath. There's going to be an apex of that curve, and boom, I'm going to change my breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Any particular dumping motion that you might do, you might lift an opponent up, exhale, drop them down. I think it's really, really important, especially for safety, for your safety. In my experience, it's this type of breath work that saves my feet and my kneecaps. I've talked about this before, where the toe and the knee move at the same time. So I never move my toe without my kneecap because that puts the knee in a dangerous position. So I always move the toe and the knee at the same time, and it's always motivated by breath. And because I'm moving the toe and the knee, it manifests in the hip area, right in the hip joint. Look at that. I'm opening here because I'm moving those two things at the same time. All of this comes from breath. I might exhale, I might inhale this way, exhale down. So inhaling, pulling the color in through my toe, up my leg into the belly, exhale, shift away. Exhale even deeper, drop this leg. Inhaling up, exhale. I'm just giving you an example of how minute the attention to detail of your breath work can be, and I'm sure that many people that go beyond this. Bring this into your forms. Consistently think about each one of these little movements as having connectivity to the breath work and to the visualization. And then the half breathing will make even more sense because you're pulling that color in, exhaling, dropping it out. Exhaling, putting that color out, inhale, bring it in. And again, I'm doing a more overt perspective of it, meaning that I'm overemphasizing for the camera so that you can see the difference. It might be super subtle when you play, but you'll feel it because you'll know it. And if you know something your opponent doesn't, that is a huge advantage. If you know your breathing and your rhythm and how the breath and the rhythm of your breath is connected to the intention of each and every one of those breaths, then you're never free breathing. Free breathing is great, but you're never free breathing unless you want to be free breathing. And what I mean by that is doing that kind of stuff when you're in the midst of a match. You're never, and if you find yourself out of breath at all, you might be really bringing each one of those breaths into an intentional movement, strategic footwork, taking more and more space with every moment so that you can get the win for the point in your particular push hands match or grappling match, etc. So, and sometimes that might be drawing an opponent back. Maybe you're giving up space intentionally. There's many different ways to do this, but what I'm getting at is the breath is intentionally connected to your movements and your strategy. And if you ever want to do your free breathing, that should be intentional as well, so that you turn it off and on when you want to, because you have that much command over your body, over your mind. So I'm hoping that this is a helpful session for folks, and I would love to open it up to questions as well. Sam, do you have any thoughts or ideas on what we're doing, or anything I should expand upon?
Not now. I'm still digesting your. Maybe after a week.
After a week.
Not
Okay.
now.
And anything that you want to expand upon with the pong, the elbow movement, or the weight on the wrist, the sliding weight?
Well, let's say. Okay, I want to review this one. So I'm not. Your learnings are not that clear from here, from the grasping, the weight still. I think you've done this one.
Uh-huh.
Expound on this. I think you're shifting I think you're twisting your hip. Is that right? From here. Then you move something like that. Can you expound on this?
Almost. That's so I'll say this. I'm sure there are many different ways to do it. It seems to me that you were emphasizing here, and the emphasis is a drop. The way I was taught is that the emphasis is actually a drop in the elbow. It's
okay.
And this is similar to the sliding weight of the wrist that we were talking about. So you're sliding the weight of the wrist in a similar way, and you're dropping your weight on it. In a similar way, you have that downward visualization, and when you exhale, I drop the elbow. The weight of the elbow connects to the hip. So the hip drops with the elbow. And so you have these 2 points, this whole platform of the hips and the elbow dropping down. And I turn the waist, I turn the hips, but then I really focus even more on the waist. So I turn the hips as much as possible, but I don't stop there. If I turn the hips here, and that's as far as they go, I turn the waist here. So waist now, and then I push forward. And when I push forward, the emphasis is not on the lead hand, it's on the back hand. So the exhalation goes into the middle finger of the left hand. So I inhale through the right, dropping the elbow, drop the hip, turn the waist. And when I push, I exhale to catalyze the push, and the breath work, the exhalation goes through into this middle finger. And it's a 2-stage exhalation. So stage 1, exhale, pushing off the back foot into the front through the left hand. And then stage 2 continues the same motion. This is actually similar to the half breaths we were talking about. I shift the attention to the right middle finger. So I've exhaled through the left middle finger to shift the weight, and I exhale through the right middle finger to turn to my right, 45 degrees to my right. So here we go. 1, exhale, exhale 2. Inhale even deeper, exhale. So that's, I'll do it again. 7-star position or play guitar. Inhaling, drop the elbow and the hips, turn the waist, exhale, pushing off the back foot into the front, looking at the middle finger of the left hand, pushing the color into it. Exhale even deeper and turning the waist 45 degrees. So when you finish, your heart will be 45 degrees into the corner, and the eye will be on the middle finger of the right hand, and the right middle finger will be as high as your nose. And then inhaling, pulling back, and you'll feel the wind up. And I'll even wind a little bit more to my right, and then inhale. Inhale, exhale, 1, exhale 2. There we go. And the camera may have made it look like I'm leaning back, but I'm never actually leaning back. Here, I'll do it again from the side, and hopefully this will be better. And even here, you have the full expression, the pull across, and then the let go, so you have your full single whip here. And then the exhalation from the belly through the right leg into the left, and the hand slides forward, and the breath is focused on the wrist. So it's that sliding wrist again, and the eye is on the middle finger. So but specifically on that move, I would really emphasize the drop in the hip and the elbow at the same time. And there'll be almost a sucking sensation. Like you want to feel like you're sucking in. If there's someone putting pressure here on you, and this is something that that the Wu style push hands is the best in my experience, the 100% best push hands routine to train this sucking experience. This moment right here very much shows up all the time in the Wu style push hands, the 4 push hands that Sifu Keith Tong teaches, right here. So you should really feel with this drop in the elbow and the drop in the hip that everything, that if there was pressure here, anything that's touching you is getting sucked in, not so much pulled down, but sucked into a like a vortex. They're just getting pulled. They're just getting like vacuumed in. Inhaling as you draw the breath in. Exhale even deeper. And that downward boom right here. If you're doing the 4 pushes, the 2 push, 2 roll back, push hands, 1, 2, 3, boom, right here, 4. It's happening right here. It's the same mechanic, but the hands look a little different. The elbows drop, the hands are guiding, so there's a little more emphasis on the palms and hands, but the hips and the elbows are doing the same thing as right here. It's the same thing. So boom, they're dropping down, and you might emphasize this elbow, the back elbow, to drop down even more, so that you can roll to give your first push, second push, roll back 1, roll back 2, and notice that drop again. 1, 2, 1. And you may have to do it on the first one too. It depends on the amount of pressure that the opponent is giving, but it also depends on what you want to give your opponent, your partner. I think it's really, really great if you have any partners you can play with this with, is to really give them that, throw something in there every now and then. Like when you're doing the routine, And that's really how, that was the one of the greatest gifts that I would have at my Tai Chi uncles when I was a teenager training with them. That each time you'd have them just throw a little twist. Even this little twist, this little moment is the same. That is the half breath version of the same technique. So boom, boom. So here they're going down and it looks all big and nice and pretty. And now here's the drop and return, drop and return. And that return, that forward pressure. Really, really great stuff. And you know what? We have a few minutes left. Let's are there any other thoughts or ideas you want to work on?
It's time full already.
Okay.
I just follow your video. I just follow your instruction.
Let's finish up with the routine that brings some of this half breathing into. Let's do a few exercises and review them that we did today, and hopefully this is helpful for anybody who watches this to start bringing this concept into their routines. So let's see. This is probably the best position over here where you guys can see. All right, how's that? Okay, let me expand this. And there we go. So here we go. So today we're talking about this concept of one move, one trajectory, and allowing two breaths within that one move. And you want to make sure that it directly affects and impacts your the end result, the end part of the motion. So let's start with the singular punch. We'll do a few. We'll do 10 on each side. So, and we'll do 5 and 5. 5 inhalation, exhalation, 5 exhalation, inhalation. So exhale, inhale, and reset. And the reset, if I've inhaled, my reset's going to be an exhale. If I've exhaled, my reset's going to be an inhale, probably. Let's see how this works. So exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And you might say, hey, Jan, if I'm finishing with an exhalation, why am I exhaling again? That's a 2-stage exhalation. And this has to happen in your sparring. It happens all the time. And unless you're conscious of it, you can't command it. So I might jump and then exhale again. And they have to exhale to get back and exhale even deeper to get back in. That happens all the time. So we're just being very intentional about what how we're directing this breath. So exhale, inhale, exhale. 2 more. Exhale, inhale, exhale. 1 more. Exhale, inhale, exhale. Let's switch sides. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Now let's go for the inhalation. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Actually, I'm still exhaling on my return. But whatever works for you. Inhaling up, exhaling. And if you're really into technique, you can be focusing on the alignment of your bones. You can shift what you're giving connecting the breath work to. Inhaling up. So I'm aligning my bone, my knuckles, my elbows here, and then I'm exhaling and I'm drilling it forward. So I'm using this to inhale up, align, make sure I feel great about the alignment, and then drill. Some people turn all the way. I don't do that. Just I drill right forward. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So let's do it for a knee now. Inhaling up, exhale. Inhaling up, exhale. Good. Well, inhaling up, exhale. And if you want, you can do the butterfly position, the clinch, inhaling up, exhale. Inhaling up. If you're a TIE fighter as well and you're watching this video, first of all, good for you. And second of all, I'm sure you know that sometimes you may pick the knee up and you might be moving around with somebody and then you boom, bang, throw it right in. So inhaling up, exhale. Inhaling up, exhale. And it's a little bit different than boom, just that one breath, one technique, one direction, which is great. Great to have the choice. Now let's do the inhalation. So the exhalation first. Inhale. Exhalation. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. I will say that when I'm doing this, I have a sense of my target the entire time. So my breath is not only in my body. This is probably a huge note. My breath is not only in my body, but it's at my ending point. So my idea is connected like a string before I get there. So I know that wherever I'm going to hit, I know where I'm going to hit. And so my body is just showing up. My breath work is catalyzing it. So even in these moments, it's not so much that I inhale, exhale, because then it's empty. There's no circuit. Like it's not just you, it's you going at a position. And even if you're doing this by yourself, this point of the air is where I'm aiming at. And so I know that if I'm going to inhale up or exhale up and then inhale, I know I've expanded to that point that I had the intention to expand to. If I'm doing the exhalation, I oftentimes will push my breath beyond the point. And that's how I was raised. My father would always tell me when you do kung fu, when you push your breath through, you push your mind through your body and into beyond wherever your striking point is. So I'm here. If I inhale up, I exhale. I know that my breath visualization is going at least an inch or two beyond where where in the air I'm shooting at. So again, same thing for punching, same thing for anything else. So or exhaling out, inhale, exhaling up. The inhalation is more about creating the shape and taking the space, almost like a statue growing into the space that you are pre-visualizing, that target point. So I'm here, ooh, I know I'm gonna take the space of that target point. And exhaling up, ooh, I took the space. So it's a different mechanic again, because when you inhale, the breath, lungs expand. When you exhale, they contract. So you want to make sure that that all of the ideas you've connected to those two very, very natural concepts. And let's stretch up. Let's stretch up for the day. I think there's some really interesting stuff here, and this stuff, take your time with it, and really bring it into your forms first. And you should be doing the forms more than partner training. That is a big belief of mine that the forms stay with you your entire life. Partners change, circumstances change, but as long as you're doing the work in here, when you meet another person, you can bring that expertise to them and you can share. And so I highly recommend working on this in your forms first, getting comfortable with it, and then starting to bring it into your other training experiences. So let's bring it back to uplifting heaven. And make sure you take that inventory too before you even do this movement. I did not say it this time, but feet shoulder width apart, parallel. Tailbone drops, imaginary string lifts you from the top of the head. Relaxation cascading down the spine. Jaw relaxes. Special attention on the middle finger of each hand, mouth closed, tongue on the ceiling of the mouth, and slight tension, very subtle in the anus. All this, you want to be able to step into this and do all that fairly immediately. but it takes time of you being conscious of it before it becomes automatic. And so make sure you always take the time if you're new to this or you're new to thinking about this this checklist. Always give yourself the time to feel it so that it can become automatic. And then inhaling, the breath lifts the wrists only, not the fingers. And then inhale even deeper, energize the fingertips. Inhale even deeper, stretching out of the hips to the shoulders, onto the toes. Exhaling down. One more. Feet 2 fists apart, parallel. So we're going to inhale up. Breath will reach, fingers will reach behind you to the wall. Chest reaches to the ceiling. Hips forward, where the toes. Exhale, butt back, fingers forward. Soften knees. Fingers back, chest up. Hips forward, where the toes. Exhale, butt back. Exhale out. Inhale deep. We're going to do lower the camera just a little bit so you can see. For my base foot faces camera, so it's straight. So, and my other foot comes forward straight, inhaling up, exhale. From the side, you'll see exhale, touch the toe, inhaling up, switch. So the basic Shaolin stretch, exhaling down, touch the toe, inhaling up, switch. Now I'm going to keep this straight. This is other ones out 45 degrees, exhaling down, touch, inhaling up, switch, exhaling down, touch. Remember, anytime I say inhale or exhale, I don't just mean breathe, I mean push the color visualization. Exhale, pushing the color through the fingertips and down the leg. Inhaling, drawing it into the fingertips, into the belly. Exhaling down the leg and to the fingertips. Inhaling out. If you find it challenging to split your mind or to expand the mind in both directions, meaning down the leg and down the arms, then I recommend focusing on just one, meaning that you might just want to exhale down the leg and visualize that, or exhale down the arm and visualize that. It takes time to expand your ability to visualize and to have more control over it, because it's just like a muscle. And it's okay if it's challenging in the beginning, because it's really, really important that you acknowledge that it's challenging so that you can work for where you're at in your own path of visualization. Super cool. And inhaling up. You know, acknowledge where you're at. It's tough to go beyond it. Inhale, turn to the side, exhaling down. Inhaling up, turn to the side, exhale down. Inhaling up, over the head, exhaling, washing the color down the legs, slapping up. Up the inside, down the outside. Up the inside, down the outside, on the shoulders, down the back. Inhaling out. Exhaling back. And tap around the chest. Pectoral muscles. Massaging lymph nodes. Floating rib up. Other side. 4 fingers on the sternum. Right here. Squeezing. Shift to the heart. Switch. Open the face to the side. Up to the side. To the side. 4 fingers on the top of the forehead. Massaging. And then reverse. Temples. Reverse. Ears. And scalp. Fingers back and front. Front to back, back to front. Massage. Slapping. Hollow fist, gentle banging. And grab the scalp, move it like down. Next patch. You're trying to move you're moving the skin
the muscle and the bone. So the intention is to stretch the bone too. Remember, your skull is made up, and reverse it. Your skull is made up of all these bones fused together, but they stretch every time you speak. They flex, so you're stretching. And nails, thumbs under the eye, in the groove between the eyeball and the bone. And you're going to tap around. Second circle bigger, third circle biggest. Middle finger out. And on the eyeballs, making gentle circles, the eyes closed, and reverse it. And top and bottom. Switch sides, 1, 2, 3. Bottom sides, 1, 2, 3. Tongue. Reverse it. Flick the fingers out, thumbs. 1, 2, 3, and grab. 1, 2, 3. Close the eyes. Inhale, white line to the belly. Spread it to the whole body. Use the sound to wash the bone marrow. Inhale, roll white light up from the toes to the top of the head. Exhale, roll it down the back, head to heels. Use the sound. Inhale, left side. Exhale on the right side. Push down the legs into the ground. Let the light come back up and around like a fountain in reverse, making a big bubble around you. Visualize it blasting out and coming up. One more. It's the belly, exhale from the top of the head. Let's surround you, make a big bubble. And have gratitude for the body, the space that you're in, good people in your life. And thank you so much. Everybody that watches this, thank you, Sam, for joining. And this is Tai Chi to the People, presented by Justice for Hire. So you can go to justiceforhire.com and learn about the show that we're producing, the first martial arts cinematic universe. You can join and be a martial arts hero from anywhere in the world and be part of our show and part of the cast. It's super fun stuff, really supportive community. And this is all powered by my startup, Real World. We're the first cinematic social network. So check us out on wefunder.com/realworld. That's REELWURLD, patent pending technology. It's all about making movies and shows with the world where people get direction and guidance on how to make the best scenes and tie their stories together with other people. And it's pretty cool stuff. And of course, you can support this channel, my Tai Chi channel on YouTube, or anywhere you might watch it, by subscribing, liking, commenting. And you can find me on patreon.com/JansTaiChi. Of course, janstaichi.com is my website, but you can actually support the channel and become a patron. And there's perks for patrons every month. And that's patreon.com/JansTaiChi. So love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sam. And I'm going to press end now, but always feel free to comment. And I'm happy to expand on any of these ideas. Love you guys. Thank you.